Coffee.
One. There we go. Yes, got my coffee. Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Morning Crow. Do your crow call, everybody. Come on. Come on.
Caw, caw, caw.
Sitting on the Morgan Bay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, today we want to welcome Bunto,
Good morning.
Jazz. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, Gary, Michael, Ann, Nathaniel, and William. Good to see you guys.
Monday.
Woohoo! It's Monday. It's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. Hope it's well by you.
Oh, sunny.
In Indiana too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're stuck in Pennsylvania. I really forgot. I grew up
I
there.
love Pennsylvania.
Pencil.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I like it. I like it.
I shall henceforth see you more as a hostage than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be in Israel, but all right.
Really?
I'm free to come and go.
But,
Pennsylvania's a little different, a little different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
We're
Greece
talking
is still in
deliverance country. Huh?
Greece is still in the news today.
And
Yes, Greece still happening. Apparently the banks are still limiting withdrawals, $60, I think, or 60 euros.
Yeah.
I think some banks it's even
60,
lower.
60 euros. 50 if they have 50 euro bills, but 60 if they have a non-50 euro bills and a mix of others. So yeah, it's complicated.
So they can't pull their own money out of the bank.
That is their money.
That's what I'm saying. They can't pull more than just a little pinch. Like they can't
Right.
pull all of their money out of the bank, no matter what.
Because
Correct.
they're running out of money.
So
They
it's
have no
not.
money.
So it's not their money.
No, it is their money, but the banks don't have.
Good point.
Banks get a fresh cash infusion every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
That they're
No.
actually cash from the reserve.
Wait a second. Wait a second. They don't
Yeah.
have their own money. It's been temporarily stolen.
well,
Maybe not temporarily, but it's been taken from them and kept from them with force. So
William,
No,
at
it's
this
more like
point,
it's been frozen.
it's not about money now. Now it's about confidence in their government.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
well, that's good. We should all be thinking about that question.
I think the Greeks
collapsed.
are really kind of,
Yeah.
enjoying it a little bit deep down, though, because when was the last time that Greece was actually relevant in the news? When was the last time you actually heard anything about Greece in the news other than, financial deficit?
Didn't they try to overthrow their government or resist some sort of military action about 5 years ago and made the news? They had a little mini revolution.
They
Egypt
would protest in the street, but it wasn't a revolution or anything.
Wasn't that the far right people that were protesting?
It was actually the left.
Argentinians.
It was the left, and then the right hopped in on board. Apparently, as they're wont to do.
That would make sense, though.
Yeah, but
Didn't
I
Seneca
think
make a
they're
big
enjoying
speech?
it. Huh?
Didn't Seneca make a big speech in their Congress about death to Carthage?
That was the Romans. That was the Romans, not the Greeks.
Oh, okay. Oops, sorry.
Yeah. And the Greeks were never an empire, really. I mean, they had the Athenian Empire in a sense, but it was It was Athens versus Sparta. But the Greek mainland was never actually one complete union. The Romans, they probably could have gotten there, but the Romans came in too early and busted that up real quick.
Just busted it up.
Yeah.
No,
What
I
do you
like
guys think? What do you guys think gonna happen here? I mean, apparently, they extended a few more days, even maybe a temporary exit till December. But they're like 130 billion dollars in debt.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, more than that.
Happen.
They still owe, I think, around 380 billion euros. They still owe.
What does the U.S. owe China?
Yeah, but okay, it's proportional though, because Greece doesn't have an economy. America actually has an economy. Greece doesn't have an economy. 80% of Greece is in the service sector, and when I mean service sector, I'm talking about mostly the government. Okay, so
we're kind of headed there ourselves.
No, literally, like 81 point something% of Greece is service economy. They don't really do anything. I mean, they don't really export anything.
But that's not necessarily a bad
everybody works
knock.
for the government, right? Everybody's got the government tag to put on for whatever they're doing, right?
Yeah, well, the thing about Greece is also nobody pays taxes. I think it was 89.5% of taxes every year go unpaid in Greece.
Oh, I see what the problem is. They're stupid. I get it.
Well, they're not stupid. They were gaming the system, but it goes back to when the Ottomans ruled Greece, and the Greeks hated the Ottomans, so they came up with various ways to get around paying the Ottomans taxes, which they weren't the only ones doing this, to be honest. And when they finally threw the Ottomans out, they just had gotten so used to, I mean, because they were ruled by the Ottomans for like 4 centuries, so they just got used to doing this business this way, and it hasn't changed since. So yeah, essentially almost nobody pays taxes.
All right. So maybe you can help me. What is the consequence of just everybody leaving Greece alone to figure out what the fuck they're gonna do?
Well, first of all, Greece
booting them out
doesn't
of
want
the
that.
EU. Well, I know they don't want that. They want somebody to take care of them.
Well, here's the thing. Greece is really divided. They want to, about like, well, you saw about 40% of them really kind of want to stay in the EU, and 60% of them kind of don't. But even some of those who don't, who voted no, sort of want to stay with the EU for the benefits of being in the Eurozone. The thing really is that Greece, honestly, should go its own way, and they should bring back their drachma, and it would be better for them in the long run, and it would be better for Europe in the long run. This is just not going to work.
I agree. I think you're absolutely right. They definitely they need to start over and be hardened again, because they're not. They're soft.
Well, it's more that they have to reform their system, and the only way they're going to do it is by working it out themselves at this point, I think. You know?
But yeah, because that's the only person they're not going to game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well,
I feel
there was some chatter last week of Sarapis. He was meeting with Putin. Some chatter there that they might make a deal with Russia, even maybe be part of the BRICS nations.
This is why the U.S. essentially pushed. They weren't the only ones, but the U.S. essentially pushed to keep Greece in the EU, because Greece has been, they've had overtures from the Russians in which they've responded very favorably. Remember, they're a far-left government, a very far-left government, and they've always been very, I mean, the guy, Tsipras, who's president now, the prime minister or whatever, he used to be a member of the Communist Party in Greece. Okay, so Greece has had this extremist left-right sort of problem since a long time, and he would not be averse to, you know, being buddy-buddy with Putin, and that's the last thing that not only the U.S. but Europe wants in its backyard, you know. Not even backyard, I mean right in the middle of Europe, for God's sake.
Well, you know what I'd say? I'd say money talks, bullshit walks. So either one of the superpowers better cough it up, man.
Well, they have been coughing it up to the tune of $380 billion. You know, that's the problem, right?
They've been bailed out like 3 times in the past 5 years. Unheard of.
Yeah.
Well, Greece keeps lying about how much money it's actually worth when it's in like single economies, and keeps borrowing more money than it can actually ever afford to pay back, and so it ends up in this horrible situation where people eventually want their money back and they don't have it. They got kicked out of a single currency with Italy in the past, and I think they've gone bankrupt as a nation 5 times. And you know, if I was bankrupt 5 times and I went to a bank asking for money, I wouldn't get lent it.
Right.
Even if I had the means to prove I could afford to pay it back. Yet Greece just gets to ask Europe for money and then not pay it back. I think the Greeks need to do something. They haven't done anything for a while. I mean, what have the Greeks ever actually done for us in the long run?
No, they've done something for us in ancient times, but since then, it's been a black hole. You know.
Okay, the philosophy and the democracy is all well and nice, but what have the Greeks actually done for us?
What have they done for us lately is the question, and the answer is frankly not much. I mean, they do have one of the biggest shipping companies in the world.
Yeah.
But other than that, other than that, it's really, you know, like you said, not much. I mean,
what they need is like a Steve Jobs in there, dude. Somebody who's fucking a winner.
It used to be a nice place to visit.
Yeah, I used to go to Greece on vacation in the 70s with my parents. And
Heroes.
I've been to Greece. It was very nice. I enjoyed my time there. It was, people were nice. It was a wonderful place. But if that's how you're going to run your economy, you better talk to Florida.
Well, that's the problem. Tourism, I believe, is their number one economic asset, and that's not how you can run a first world nation. So they're not. I mean, they're they're a third world nation in a sense, with a first world kind of education level in a first world conglomerate. It's just not working.
Right. I mean, you can run the state of Florida that way, but you can't run a country that way.
Right.
No, they just need a winner in there.
Now,
their
don't they
culture's
also?
fine. It's just their leadership.
Well,
don't they have pretty much an early retirement there as well, or
yeah, it's like at 45 or 50, something like that.
God.
Well, it's worse than that. I mean, you know, you have the corruption is phenomenal. Like you would have bus drivers, apparently, from what I've heard. One of the things I've heard is that, you know, they would get like a bonus every time they turned the key to get to turn the bus on to start their, you know, work or things like that. It's just phenomenally bad. There were like entire sections of the government on paper that had like people hired to do work that actually had no offices and no work and had been going for like decades, and were paying out these people, and these people weren't, you know, obviously working. They weren't doing anything. They were just getting paid by the government.
Sounds like Chicago.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it's a corrupt government is what we're talking about, you know. Oh, and yeah, there we go. Brother John, I don't even have to read the story. Yes, they hid their debts. They lied about their debts. But the thing is, it's also a bit on the Europeans, because the Europeans knew they were lying about their debt. It's not that, you know, when they went in and reported these bogus figures, the people around them knew it was bogus. It's not as if these people sitting with them from France and Germany and everywhere else didn't know that they were just lying about their figures. They knew they were lying about their figures. It was just openly acknowledged, just wasn't talked about. So yeah, the Greeks would lie about it, and nobody would confront them on it, and you know, ended up in disaster, frankly. So I feel a bit bad for them, though.
Goldman Sachs is being sued for this. Looks like they have made as much as $500 million from these transactions.
I thought there, when you were talking about the bus drivers and corruption, you were going to tell me that you had to bribe them to get aboard as well as pay the fare.
Yeah, I mean, there's like lots of stories of that level of corruption, essentially. That like train drivers retiring at the age of 40 or 45 after working like 10 or 15 years, basically, things like that. It's just ridiculous. So you know, they were living it up on the ECB's you know, money, and then it just ran out with the crisis that started in America. So yeah.
The crisis? You mean Obama?
No, I just mean the you know, when in 2008 when the markets collapsed and basically everybody started demanding.
That was before Obama, dude. That was freaking all Bush.
Yeah, that was Bush, when it started with Bush, actually. And you know, essentially what happened is everybody started demanding their money. It was all built on promises, which is what most economies are built on, is credit. And people started demanding that money, and it just didn't exist. And Greece was no exception. And they owed the the most, along with Portugal and Spain in the EU. So, you know.
Well, the thing is, what happened in 2008 was unfettered investment banks. You know, it was like a monopoly of just 5 banks.
Mm-hmm.
And when that started collapsing,
Still is.
Yeah, I mean, there's been not much. What would you say, progress on that front? It's just another accident waiting to happen, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it's still in the process of unfolding, but what they managed to do in 2008 was to slow a bit the undoing. If you watch the Frontline series it came out, I think 2009 or 2010, they did a whole report on what happened with Bernanke and the Fed, etc., Goldman Sachs and the rest, and they went in depth about it, and they interviewed people who were at these talks, you know, these emergency talks, etc. They essentially, the fear was, I mean, it was a very real fear, it wasn't like a fake fear, that the opening bell would crash the international markets, literally. I mean, they thought that we were headed towards like a dark age. That's how bad it was going to be, and they were probably right. And what they managed to do, I'm not saying that I think that their particular methodology was great, but what they managed to do was to slow that down so it became a slow-moving, you know, locomotive that wasn't stopping, instead of like a fast, you know, train, or like a runaway train that, you know, was about to bust into some sort of wall. So essentially, they managed to slow down the pain. Now other countries took advantage of that slow-moving destruction to sort of reform themselves, and actually did fairly well. I mean, they went through austerity, but they managed to gather themselves. Greece never actually did that. They still managed to screw it all up. So that's where the real problem is.
Iceland to turn themselves around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are examples of countries that went through some sort of austerity in the last 5 years and actually turned it around. So they're, you know, starting to show profit, etc. They're growing. Spain, for example, is, you know, it's still a bit in austerity, etc. But it managed to turn it around for the most part. So there are success stories out of this slow-moving express train that just wasn't going to stop. But you know, Greece never managed to do that, and that's really why they're in such deep shit, frankly. You know, I mean, I don't know the terms that they agreed to, but it sounds like they basically agreed to, you know, sell their firstborn to stay in the EU at this point.
Who wants their firstborn?
Who else is going to cut the
Make
grass?
a good meal.
Yeah, they do make a good meal. Yeah. Where would we be without the hero, you know?
I suppose, and you know, you could always, you know, it's folks, it's fried foods. It's got to be good.
Mm-hmm. Where would we be without calamari dishes? Okay, that's all I gotta say. I mean,
I'm Italian, and we eat a lot of calamari.
Yeah, I know, but you know, give the Greeks something. They have almost nothing right now.
I guess.
Yeah, just, you know.
What about baklava? Isn't that theirs?
No, that's pretty much Turkish, Middle Eastern origin. Yeah.
Man, they just really didn't have anything, do they? They've got nothing.
No. You know, after they've got olives and olive oil. But hey, again, they make some great olives and olive oil in this country and in other countries too. So it's not like particularly Greek. In that respect, is again, it's Mediterranean more than anything else. You know.
Okay, they have plenty in Israel.
Yeah, that's where I am, and
I know. That's why I said it. They have plenty of olives and olive oil in Israel too.
Yeah, and you know, they have a long tradition here. So again, it's more Mediterranean than particularly Greek.
Where are you exactly, though?
I'm in Haifa. I'm in yeah. I see the sea from my terrace. It's kind of nice.
Now, Nathaniel, I just saw a story yesterday. I think it was on RT, near the Gaza that many are moving towards over there because they have incentive. Real estate is really low over there. I mean, because they're dealing with a lot
I
of
don't know
bombing
if I
and
would take
stuff.
anything that RT says on any sort of merit whatsoever.
But
Yeah.
apparently they're trying to build up cities
Well,
over
I
there
know
near
that they're trying to build.
Gaza
Well,
and
because
offering cheap
the
real
fact
estate.
is that after the last war, last summer, literally 1 year ago, people were moving away because they just you couldn't live there. And every 3 minutes you were in a bomb shelter, and you have literally 10 seconds or less to get to one. So people just end up living in the bomb shelters. So a lot of families were just like, we've had it. We're moving up north. So they did. A lot of people didn't, but there were a lot of people who did, and so the fact is that those farms, it's kind of funny because those farms are very productive in that area or where, and they're very left-leaning. They're the peacenik type of movement people, and so they're not fans of Netanyahu, and there was like a big dichotomy in their thinking last year that people were talking about, and they had people on the news and saying, well, I'm rethinking my position, and some people would say, well, no, this doesn't change anything, etc. But it's a mess down there at this point, and so yeah, I don't doubt that they're trying to attract new people to go down there and become farmers. I just don't know that's going to actually work. It's not. This isn't the Israel of the 1960s. It's not an agrarian economy anymore. It used to be, but it's not. And it's much more technology. I mean, it's huge in the technology sector. So I just don't see that really happening all that much.
Make nice armaments.
What's that?
They make very good armaments.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm both happy and sad about that.
I have to say, I am both happy and sad that even has to be done in anywhere.
Yeah, it's not something I relish, but I'm happy that we have the means to defend ourselves. But again, it's not the ideal situation, which I would tout as being an awesome thing that we're doing or something.
Well, I'm just mentioning things that you do as an economy well.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been the case, though. But the technology sector I'm talking about mostly is I mean, it's always been good, and it continues to be good on the defense front. But I'm talking about apps and startups and all sorts of.
It wasn't always good on armaments. I mean, you were using whatever armaments you could buy. You were using a mishmash of Mausers and.
Yeah, but it's no longer 70 years ago. We've evolved.
I'm just saying that. Yeah.
Oh.
That's Chaz's phone. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, again, it's not. They weren't always, but for the last 60 some odd years, they've been doing fairly well on the defense development front. So.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Not a problem.
I haven't heard a proper BT telephone ring in a while, so.
That's not a BT telephone.
Oh, is it? It's not.
No.
All right.
It's kind of funky, mate. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called now. But it's not actually BT. And it's a Virgin line anyway. It's not even a BT phone line.
Well, the ring was sort of retro, so.
Well, that's the classic British ring.
Yeah.
If you've ever owned a Nokia, you'd know that there is a different phone ring in every country, just like there's a different ambulance noise in every country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I remember in France too. They have a particular ring that just.
It's really high pitched and horrible.
Yeah. As are all things French.
I know, right?
It's French. What do you expect? It's French.
You think that's bad? I can actually see France from where I live.
Are you
on the cliffs of Dover? You can see the cliffs of Calais.
Yeah. He's Sarah Palin. He's going to run for I don't know. He's for cabinet minister.
I'm not looking around the curvature of the earth. And the thing is, she could. She would just need a very good mirror.
Yeah.
Positioned above the earth. Or maybe
Well, I
two.
can see
Well, I'm
some,
gonna head on.
interesting
Yeah, go ahead.
spots from where I am. I can see from my terrace. I can see if I use binoculars, I can see the hills of Lebanon, etc. And Syria. One of the Syrian fronts is literally 51 miles from where I am. So ISIS is sitting 51.5 miles from where I sit, actually.
Wow.
Or either al-Nusra or ISIS on any given day. It changes, apparently. I don't know.
Oh, you could just get involved as a sniper from your terrace then.
Yeah, basically. I'd have to go up one extra floor, I think, to really, start.
I'm sure someone would let you shoot off their terrace.
Yeah. No, I think I think the government here would be a little bit pissed off at that,
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know any snipers that can shoot 51 miles. Yeah, I know some snipers actually. I have some friends here who were snipers in the military.
I'm military sniper friends myself. They're trying to teach me how to shoot that long range. I just can't make my calls correct. I don't make the calls very well.
Well, one of my roommates in high school, who was a senior in high school with me here in Israel, his parents live in the West Bank, the Canadian, and they moved 35 years ago or something like that, 30 years ago, I can't remember. But anyway, they when I used to go visit him, he would be driving. He'd have me hold the M16. I'd never held an M16 before, and he was the one who basically showed me how to strip it down, etc. When I was at his place the first time, and how to take care of it and how to shoot it, etc. Well, he later became one of the best snipers in the Israeli military at the time. He had won all sorts of awards, etc. He was in Lebanon for a while. Now he runs a very, very famous set of pubs, expatriate type of pubs here, very, very well known, called Mike's Place, where they had a terrorist bombing in 2000, very famous one in Tel Aviv. But yeah, he's one of the owners of Mike's Place, all over Israel. So, and one of my best friends still today. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Going to the next story about. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just want to just move forward a little bit. With Iran, apparently Iran they found they've been doing some
bad things, nuclear.
Some buying some weapon technology under the
Well,
table.
maybe
and
America should just invade them then.
No, I don't think the Americans should. I don't even think the Israelis should. I think we should arm the Saudis and let them take care of it. Let them do the dirty work for once.
There you go. I couldn't agree more. Let someone else do it for once.
Yeah.
I am absolutely of the opinion that look, you have to really screw up to get the Saudis and the Egyptians and the Qataris and the Kuwaitis to agree with the Israelis and the French.
Amen.
Okay? You really got to screw up. I mean, this is unprecedented, I just think it's a really kind of bizarre, topsy-turvy situation this whole region is in at this point. So yeah, I say let the Gulf states deal with it. Israel can help out covertly or whatever, and maybe even American covert stuff. But yeah, I don't think we should send any bombers or troops on the ground or anything like that. No.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
Well, we're a bit
Sort it
busy
out.
bombing Syria at the moment, aren't we?
No, we're busy doing it in Iraq. We're not Syria. We're not bombing Syria.
I thought England had started bombing Syria the other week.
Not that I know of. Maybe,
Sure
but maybe they did. Maybe they did a bombing run or two. But I've not heard that there's a full-scale bombing campaign in Syria. No. Now you could be right. I just haven't heard of it.
Not me neither. But we don't. I have to search the web to get anything that is news in the world that hasn't been filtered through the American filter. It's
Yep.
you know, it's a pain in the butt.
Oh no, I read stuff that's not on the American through the American filter all the time.
Well, I do it too, but I mean, I'm just saying, it would be nice if we heard some international news now and then that was, well, it'd be nice to hear news.
Well,
What I usually do is go to, yeah.
But I do it on the web.
If it helps any, Gary, I usually go to drudgereport.com and they give headlines from all different news sources around the world, and plus they have links to tons of different news sites.
Yeah, I do that. I do that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it just seems kind of odd. You know, we used to hear, when I was younger, we used to hear a lot about what was going on in the world. Now we only hear about what's going on here.
Yeah, I have to say that American news is horrifically bad, and it's mostly about celebrities. So yeah.
I don't care who married who and who made a baby with somebody else. I don't care.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not new.
About last week, the big story was Ariana Grande licking donuts and hating Americans, and
Yeah, I didn't even hear about it, fortunately.
Hey, Alex, what's up? You didn't hear that? You didn't hear that story? The little videotape.
Jeez.
She goes into a donut shop with her boyfriend. This was like a news for a couple of days.
And
It's
they
a big
made
deal.
the fucking news. Jeez.
It made the news, and she said I hate Americans, and all the radio stations were doing bans
Wait,
on her.
who said this? Who said this?
Ariana Grande. She's a pop star singer.
Yeah, I don't even know.
She's got a great voice. I'll give her that.
Yeah,
I mean, she even sounds like Mariah Carey a little bit.
She's a sexy little thing. But I mean, I hate Americans too. I mean,
what's that?
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't get you, Alex.
Oh, I said I hate Americans too. I mean,
Yeah, you ISIS sympathizer, you.
Look, she was just trying. She thinks she's shopping like for clothes or something. She's trying it on before she buys. She's having a little sample. She's just making sure it's what she wants.
Now the donut, because of that video, the donut shop now is getting slack because they won't leave the donuts on the counter for anybody to be like spitting and breathing on, and so now they're facing.
That is pretty disgusting, though. I mean, like if you pick up a donut that's been there, like anybody's been breathing over it, or like talking and there's spits coming out, flying out over the. I mean, that's like bacteria central right there, man. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. Be a great petri dish experiment, Leave a donut open.
The story shouldn't be there though like that. I mean, she shouldn't get, because kids are doing stupid shit like this all the time, and there's got to be some real news out there, except for this dumbass kid spitting on people's food.
Yeah,
that was your kid.
I didn't see it, but I look at. I don't really look at much American media. Like, I do look at CNN's webpage every day, a couple times a day, along with the Washington Post, etc. But I have CNN's International Edition, and it actually has different headlines and a different story, typically as a front story, than the U.S. edition. If you actually go to CNN and you switch from U.S. to International Edition, you'll see there's a difference. And there's actually a big difference. I'm not saying they're much better. I'm just saying it focuses on different stuff.
Well, it's like, I just have CBS News, nightly news in my stream on G+, and they aired as a news feature, it didn't say advertising or anything. It just said, Pizza Hut's new hot dog crust.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, and I finally had to comment. I put that, I said, is this really news?
Yeah, that's really insane. I mean, that is really crazy. Yeah, you don't tend to see that like BBC would never do that. As much as I disagree wholeheartedly with much of BBC's perspective, they would never do something like that. Not that I know of. That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially
kind of. Yeah, Gary.
When you click on the link, it actually takes you to a news feature rather than an ad. It just This is
well, as much as I love Apple products, I know a lot here will disagree, but I happen to like them a lot. But you do see in the media like a lot of fanboy writing in the media every single time Apple's going to come out with something new. It's like it's treated as if it's a momentous prophetic occasion. And I realize fully that essentially that's free advertising. I don't think they pay for it. I think they just reporters are just idiots and don't know any better. Especially since I worked in the news and I've known too many reporters. But you do see that with like products like Apple and a couple others like Google, etc. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that they would just extend that courtesy to other things. Huh?
What, that they don't pay their taxes?
Oh, that I commend Apple on not paying their taxes. It's great. I wish I could be the same. I want to be part of that 1% that has workarounds for not paying taxes.
Well, speaking of apples and donuts, kind of leads into my next story about the world entering era of global food insecurity, with malnutrition and obesity side by side within countries. I'm sure Michael Lamb would love to weigh in on this. The world is entering an era of global food insecurity, which is already leading to the double burden of both obesity and malnutrition occurring side by side within countries and even within the same families. A leading food expert has warned it's becoming increasingly common to see obese parents in some developing countries raising underweight and stunted children because high-calorie food is cheaper and more readily available than the nutritious food needed for healthy growth, said Alan Danger of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine.
I don't I'll shut the fuck up and let you guys talk for one.
That way when I was a kid, I know that for sure. I mean, we went from what was supposedly a nutritious school lunch, suddenly we had a pizza machine.
Well, one thing I would say is it says in there because high-calorie food, and that's not really the best way to look at it. It's not the calories is only a small part of it. We need calories. Calories is just a way of measuring the energy from food. It's the problem of where we're getting these calories from. You've got high cholesterol and high carbohydrate foods because wheat is a very easy thing to grow. And it's very, very cheap to make, but you can sell it on at high prices. And, so we've got lots of bread and potatoes and stuff in our diet, which we don't need that many calories, especially in the type of sedentary lifestyles we more commonly lead to days with things like office jobs and sort of like regular sitting down. We need more sort of like fats and proteins is what we mainly need, and a small amount of carbohydrate. The problem is that we changed our diet and started including all these carbs because either people are too poor to really be able to afford to eat properly, healthily, or they don't have the resources to use their garden to grow more food. And so they're kind of being put gun to the head in a supermarket with their choices of what they can actually afford to buy to feed their families.
Right.
That's the main problem.
Right, and the better choices are too expensive. I mean, I don't have a lot of money. I eat a whole lot better. I mean, I spend a lot of time in the produce area, but I eat a whole lot better if I actually...
But really, how expensive are fruits and vegetables? I mean, they're not much more expensive.
I have to... Yeah, I don't spend all that much money on food, but I am mostly cook for myself, and I love to cook. So it's not that much to cook for yourself, and it's much better, and it tastes so much better, frankly.
It does. I just hate the cleanup.
But I hate cleaning up when I go to the toilet. Like it's just part of life, right? Sometimes you gotta clean things up.
Into that situation.
No, but my point is there are things that you just don't like to do in life that you have to get done, and cleaning up in the kitchen is part of it,
I think that's the other thing, is the convenience of fast food. I mean, you can go to a McDonald's and you know you can order a food, and that food will be ready for you from scratch to finish in about 3 minutes.
That's because it was ready before you got there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, a lot of the time it's ready before you got there, but even if it was done cooked to order, it should only take 3 minutes.
It was ready 10 years ago. You're just getting it now.
That shit's been there so long, Ariana Grande's already spit on it.
Please weigh in on this.
I just posted a link. I just posted a link on the 8-year decline in the mineral content of one medium apple. And as you can see, we've stopped looking at these numbers a while ago. There's nothing in apples anymore. How many apples do you think you'd need now to keep the doctor away?
Well, they are.
One, you just have to throw it at him extra harder.
I know. I was just going to say that they're homeopathic apples.
You're more likely to be GMO.
Yeah, there you go. Well, no, I mean, the thing is, I don't know. I didn't. I haven't. I'd have to read it.
Why would we want a pesticide company designing our food? Can anybody riddle me that?
Well,
wait. To be fair, that can also come about by selective breeding and stuff like that. You know, some of the sweeter apples that you get out there are, you know, probably not as good for you as some of the smaller, more bitter ones. But people want what they want on the shelves for the, you know, things that they want. They're not buying the stuff for the most healthy type of apple. Therefore, the farmers are not planting these type of crops, you know, for mass production.
It's actually kind of why the tomato, I forget what it's called, the beefsteak tomato or something. That's like the tomato everybody knows, but that's essentially, you know, if you look at heirloom tomatoes, they can be completely different looking.
Right.
But it was developed as being this perfect tomato for, you know, in the kitchen, etc., to cook with, to put on your hamburger, and that's essentially why it took the market over.
Well, I still think the GMOs are bad. I think the GMOs are going to prove to be quite bad for people, and I'm going to abstain from them. But I think you can get the same kind of problems or similar problems to you know, producing trash food just because that's what people want.
William,
they want
can
more.
I ask you a question? If I took a crop of apples, because we're using them, yeah, and I find that one is particularly good at sweetness, and I breed that apple, and I select only the to use seeds from apples which are sweet.
Well, that
which would genetically modify it. Would you have a problem with eating that apple?
Well, there's a problem with your example. Apples are grown on two plants. You have a rootstock that produces apples, sure, but they're crap. And then you have the actual tree that you see above ground. It's a different variety, and they're grafted in when they're very young, and then it's grown as a tree. So apples have been something grown more or less artificially for a very long time.
Well, any crop, if I select simply the bits, or I crossbreed it with other crops which are, say, more resistant to drier conditions, or more resistant to wetter conditions, yeah? Right. And I, through breeding, genetically modify the organism I had originally, yeah? Do you have a problem with that?
I don't like the terminology genetically modify. I don't think that's what you're doing there.
No, but that is exactly what we're doing.
That's exactly what you're doing. There is no different. There is no different than changing something's DNA through breeding than going in and taking out bits of DNA and putting other bits in.
Then allow me to be
the same effect.
Then allow me to be more specific. I have a problem with pesticides being added genetically to my food.
The problem is that they're putting things that aren't supposed to be in an apple, so you couldn't breed for them if you wanted to, and they're putting them into these genes and making an apple anyway.
That's not necessarily true. Okay, so let's take get away from apples for a second. Look at the Holstein cow. This entire animal is unnatural. It cannot survive on its own. It was genetically bred, I mean, to use a term, it was genetically bred to be a specific way to produce a certain kind of milk. And if you leave cows alone in the wild, they'll die. Their udders will explode. It's a real mess. It's a horrible Monty Python skit, you know. But they did not exist naturally. Now everybody drinks milk from Holstein cows pretty much today without a problem. But this milk, this cow, is completely unnatural. It didn't exist in the wild before. It would never have evolved into this state that it exists today simply because evolution would have discounted. I mean, they would have all died. However, nobody has a problem drinking from this unnatural cow, quote unquote unnatural cow, and even eating their meat, etc.
My point with the apples being two different trees, it's not going to be very likely that you'll get to that point either, to where you produce this big sweet apple, because the plant that's producing it isn't very hardy. It wouldn't live if it didn't have the rootstock grafted onto it.
Right. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a candy bar? Have you ever had a Starburst in your mouth or a Skittles?
Yes, of course.
This is completely unnatural on every single level. There is no
but we call it
plant that would ever produce something
you
like
need
that.
to understand also that I don't have a problem with GMO foods either.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm addressing William. Then I suppose I'd like to hear what he has to say. Actually, I'm curious what you have to say.
On which part? When you were talking about the Starburst and stuff? Because we call that junk food out loud. We know that we're not eating that for health. We're not going, this is vitamins. We know the difference. And what I'm talking about is you can get the same sort of negative results even if you have let's say that you take bison. Okay, these animals can clearly survive on their own when man's not hunting them down. They're a healthy animal, a healthy meat, right? But if you start treating bison the way we do all of our other food animals and industrialize it, then they're going to be, and you feed them the same kind of garbage, then yeah, they're going to be unhealthy eventually too. Their meat's going to be unworthy. There's a lot of different factors that go into having healthy food that you can produce.
Yeah, but that's a different thing to me. Right, but that's a different thing to me. I mean, in terms of what we feed animals in industrial size complexes where they breed them, etc. I have a bit of a problem with that, just on humanitarian grounds. But I'm just talking about. Let's just talk about crop type plants first, not more about chickens.
I don't think there's anybody in here who's going to argue that factory farming is ideal, but that's a totally different claim than we should be wary of GMOs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying that we should. I said that I am. I don't care what you guys eat.
But why are you?
Because I don't like it. I don't like the tampering. I've seen too many bad things. Can I finish?
Totally irrational. You just don't like it.
Are you going to cut me off again? We're going to do this dance.
I was just asking you a question.
Go ahead, Willem.
I don't like a lot of different modifications. I certainly don't like the results that I've seen from mankind tampering with the natural order of things, especially when it comes to food. I choose, for health reasons, to grow my own.
Well, again, you seem to be begging the question again. You said that we should be wary about it, suggesting that there's good reasons.
No, I said that I don't like it.
Hold on.
You're going to quote me correct?
Which suggests that maybe there's something wrong with it. And then when I asked you why we should be worried about it, you said, oh, you guys shouldn't, but I do it for health reasons. Again,
then what am I saying?
There should be
I'm
something
saying that
wrong.
I don't think it's
I'm
healthy.
asking what good reasons do we have to think that there's something wrong with it?
I'm saying that I don't think that it's as healthy as what I do.
So you don't have a good reason to think why it's not healthy. You just don't think it's healthy.
Sure, that's fine. That works for me. Whatever gets you to understand that it's not important to me what you think about my reasons. I think that it's healthier to let it go in a natural order. I don't have a monocultural garden either. I have weeds intentionally. I have weeds intentionally growing amongst my crops and stuff because they all serve a purpose out there.
Weeds kill your crops. Weeds steal nutrients from your crops.
Hold on, William, do you plant strawberries?
No, I don't have to plant strawberries. They occur naturally.
Would you plant strawberries? Do you have an aversion to strawberries?